Welcome, everybody, to Business Geeks Podcast. This week, we have a whole host of budget busting. No, I like the BBs on it, but the ways to save in your business, and specifically, we're going to talk about one big topic when it comes to not having a lot of money to spend on getting people in the door or on your website or however you do business, getting the people to go there. But first, I'd like to introduce my co-hosts, Jennifer Crawford and Samantha Riley. How are we doing tonight?
Oh, hey. So good.
Hey, fellow business geeks.
Yeah,
good to be back here.
We're an hour later than normal, but it does feel good to be back here. And thank you for hanging in there with Sam and I, Jennifer. As we were the ones that made us late.
It's okay.
Yes, but we did our thing. And before we start, I want to give a shout out to everyone that watched our show and listened to our show last week, because I had Facebook blowing up. I think that the support that people provided was just awesome. So, it's great that we can sit here and have a conversation, but I think it's so fantastic to have people reaching out and saying hi. So thank you, everyone out there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love hearing from people. I mean, we love talking about business, so it's even better if we can bring more people into the fold. We're all going through kind of the same things, being entrepreneurs. There's so many problems. It's a pure roller coaster ride. So, jump on, get in the car with us. We're going up the hill.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go up tonight instead of down.
We're going up tonight.
We are supermaning that, as Soldier Boy once said. Last week we had 466 views on the video. The podcast is now live on Apple. It's not Apple iTunes, but Apple Podcasts. So if you want to hit the subscribe button on that, it's much appreciated. This is just the beginning of this awesome ride that we are getting onto. So for tonight, we wanted to talk about business on a budget, and specifically using PR to increase your sales, increase your eyeballs to your business, and enable you to get more people through your proverbial door. So if would you, Sam, or you, Jen, like to kick it off here?
Yeah, so the idea for this episode was an article, I guess, that you found, Joe, that talks about how to save money in business. And every single one of us goes through times where things are tough. And marketing spend is usually one of the first things people let go. And that's the worst thing to do. If you're struggling for money, letting go of your marketing is just completely the opposite thing you want to be doing. But there are ways that we can stretch that marketing spend or stretch that marketing, and using PR and free PR to bring leads and awareness to our brand. But specifically tonight, we wanted to talk about not just building our brand, but how to monetize that. Because if you're having a tough time, you want clients, right?
Absolutely. And this is why it's important. According to Bloomberg, 8 out of 10 small businesses fail within the first 18 months. That's 80% of small businesses in less than 2 years fail. And I have a feeling if some of these businesses had invested more time in these PR strategies, the DIY PRs, I think is what we're talking about, maybe they would have lasted. So, but I think PR is a little scary for a lot of people. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I agree with myself. Surprise, surprise.
It's good.
I'm lucky.
Well, it's because you're putting yourself out there, right? Or you're relying on other people to put yourself out there and to tell a story. And I think a lot of people approach it kind of awkwardly. So we want you to avoid that. We want you to get out there and do it with some nuance and some skill. I don't know, Sam, Joe, do you have a favorite PR go-to in your businesses, or when you're talking to other business owners? Do you kind of have something that's kind of like your tried and true PR effort?
I mean, email for me has been the thing, right? Because like it's the mode of communication. I wouldn't discount reaching out via like letter format, like writing a letter, because it's it's differentiating in this time, in this day and age where less and less mail is actually sent. But yeah, I've mostly used email to like get into people's inboxes and see what happens. And sometimes you get you get that feedback, though. I would also say that the other big thing I've used is Harrow, the help a reporter out, right? It's like it's literally the easiest way to make it happen, because they're literally asking you for the expert feedback, or looking for people that fit a specific demographic to write about. So, get on Harrow. I think was it Harrow.net?
Yeah, it might be. And also SourceBottle. SourceBottle.com is another one. Actually, I was just looking at Harrow before. I'm pretty sure it's Harrow.com.
It is .com. I don't know why I thought it was Harrow.net. That's weird.
I don't know either, but it is Harrow.com. And SourceBottle.com is another one. And what's great about those is that the journalists are putting the call out that goes straight into your inbox. And that's definitely a go-to for me. I get Harrow in my inbox twice a day, SourceBottle in my inbox twice a day. And the biggest tip that I can give, if you are utilizing these free services, is that when a journalist reaches out and you fit one of the stories, you must get straight onto it, because these journalists are busy people. And if you're the first one that winds up in their inbox, then they will just latch on. If you're a fit, they'll just go, yeah, let's just do that and get it done with. And I know that I've been on national TV before by reaching out within 10 minutes. The journalist is like, can I interview you in half an hour? Can you be in the studio tomorrow morning? Like, that's the speed that they work. So if you're able to work at their speed and help them out, then you can get some really big opportunities.
I think that's excellent advice. One thing I would add, when you're beginning your PR efforts, take some time and audit your online presence, because before anybody considers you for their blog or their podcast or their news outlet or their paper, they're going to take a few minutes and check you out online. They want to know if you have a professional presence, if you seem legitimate, if you have your own following. So if you've been paying attention and working on getting your social media profiles and your social media audience nice and robust, that's going to serve you well when people are considering you as a potential PR story. So I just wanted to add that, because I think people forget that they have they make an impression on people online sometimes before they ever make a face-to-face impression.
That's a super good tip, Jen, and really important. And I think that if we're going to be using PR in our strategy, that we should be checking our website probably monthly, just to make sure, because whilst they should go up and stay there, they don't. I just woke up to an email this morning saying some of my links were broken. I know they weren't originally. Like, it just happens, right?
It does. The little gremlins get in there.
I do. So just jump in there every now and again and check. And as a brand which is evolving, every now and again you might go in and have a look at your bio, for example, and think, oh, actually that's a little dusty. That needs an update. So yeah.
And it might not fit. Yes, and it might not fit what you're trying to get at, right? They're like, oh, I'm the master of blah blah blah. Well, blah 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 isn't what you're putting out there for, like, to other people, and they're gonna look at it and be like, oh, you're not. That doesn't even fit you. That's not what I'm looking. You clearly are not what I'm looking for, even though you might be. It's just the bio that you have at the moment. I have like 4 different bios. Any of you have multiple bios?
Yeah, I have multiple bios.
Depending on where you're
depending
applying
on the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What matters, just like a resume. Yeah. So we have a question from Amy J. What up, Amy J? And shout out to Eric Hunley. Thank you for putting in helpareporter.com, not harrow.com. It actually takes you to like a completely different website.
There you
go. So, Amy J asks, what are your thoughts on having a media kit?
I think it's worthwhile, and I think that you should have it as a PDF download on your media page on your site, because especially, if you want to be featured by big media or corporations, they're not sitting there on Zoom like we are. They might be flying between cities and looking at things while they're sitting, on a plane or in an airport. So have a PDF that someone can just download and have a look at and take with them. And on that, I think it's also really important to have questions that people can ask, because if someone's reaching out, it gives them an idea of what your zone is, whether or not they use those questions, but it gives them a safety net to help understand, what is it that's your zone of genius? How can you add value to my audience?
I think it comes down to is you really want to make it as easy as possible for somebody to want to feature you and to work with you. So that's a really good vehicle is that media kit, that one sheet, because it summarizes you. They don't have to research. They don't have to follow your links. They don't have to necessarily go to all your social media profiles to get a really good summary of what you're all about. And that's true if you're submitting like a story idea that's related to your business. Write it out, write it well and have it complete, because as Sam mentioned, these news cycles and these periodicals, they're moving at such a fast pace and they're always looking for fresh stories. So the more that you can just spoon feed them content, the more likely that you are going to be able to get your article published.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The less brain cells they have to burn to figure out what you're talking about, the better. And Amy J says, Sam, when you say have questions ready, do you mean topics you're comfortable with?
Yeah, so depending on the way that you do it, you can just have topics. So if your media kit or your one page is going out for speaking engagements, you might just have the name of your keynotes. If it's going out for podcasts or for main media, you might say, ask me specifically this question, or these are the questions you could ask me. And people love that.
We're like missing we haven't mentioned the P word, podcast, and getting yourself on
because
podcast.
I hadn't got to my bit yet.
I thought I said the word podcast.
Did you say it?
So somewhere in that
I might have. I missed
yeah,
it.
no, I don't know, because I was going to say my favorite go-to PR is podcast.
Mine too. And I think it's worth mentioning that I think all of us, when we think of PR, we think big name publications, big name podcasts. But I am a firm believer in the power of a more micro approach. Micro influencers, you may have heard that term being tossed around. But the reason I think that you should consider micro influencers is because I think their audiences, although smaller by definition, are oftentimes more targeted, and they're also oftentimes more passionate or loyal to that podcast or that publication or whatever blog, whatever it is. So don't let your ego get in the way of good PR. I've known business friends who have been featured on really well-known podcasts, and I asked them, later, well, how did it work out? How did it translate into business for you? And it absolutely oftentimes does not move the needle whatsoever. Also, those big names are less likely to pre-promote or post-promote your appearance on their outlet, where the more micro influencers are a little bit more down to earth, and they see the value of promoting you on their show, because they're hoping to tap into your audience, because maybe it's about the same size, or maybe it's even bigger, where the big names will most likely have a much bigger audience than you, so they don't waste their time. Worrying about your little audience. So you kind of have to keep things in perspective and think it's a long game. It's not just, hey, I'm going to do PR this month and then I'm going to take a break. It's never ending. It's like marketing never ends. You have to have some capacity of stamina in order to have any hopes of this working out.
Absolutely.
Is that too much of a Debbie the Downer?
I don't think it's a Debbie Downer approach. I think that consistency, let's flip that on its head. When you've got a consistent brand, it's like people know who you are, and it's momentum, right? It's like, what's that saying? A rolling stone gathers moss. I don't know. I got to stop trying to make up the quotes. Momentum.
Momentum.
Let's just go with that. And after, you get more opportunities, you get more people recognizing you. Your marketing dollars, when you do put into, paid advertising, when you've got a brand that you've been building using these PR strategies, then your marketing dollars go further. Your ad clicks are cheaper because people recognize you and know who you are. So there's just so many reasons to do this, position yourself as the authority, backlinks to sites, creating relationships. And I think we'll go more into how we can use some of those strategies, so I won't get ahead of myself. But, consistency was where I was going. It's not a bad thing. It's not a Debbie Downer thing. It's an awesome thing.
It is an awesome thing. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys this. Have you heard the term newsjacking as it relates to PR strategy?
Oh, the best newsjacking of all time.
I'm afraid to Google this.
Was Volvo in the Super Bowl a few years ago.
There you go.
But no, I haven't heard.
You guys
of this.
know about that? So I'm assuming you know what I'm talking about here, Jen.
Yeah, you said Oreo, right?
No, Volvo, the car.
Oh, Volvo. I don't know that. I don't know that newsjacking story.
Okay, so what they did was, and I don't know which Super Bowl it was. Clearly not the one that was this week, but I don't know if it was last year or like how many years back. But Volvo had a campaign where any time that a car ad came up, whether it was Audi or whether it was, whoever, that you had to tweet with the hashtag Volvo around where you would take your family, I think it was on a holiday or something. So every time that a car commercial came on, everyone was on their phones tweeting about Volvo, and they had a massive spike. And they had it. I should have sat down. I should have sat down with the stats, but they actually had a long tail on that too.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so for those of you who might not have heard of that term, Joe, I think you confessed.
Yeah.
So newsjacking is when you piggyback on existing trends and stories. So it's exactly what it sounds like. You're sort of hijacking topical news. So this PR trick entails keeping an eye out for breaking news that might be relevant to your business, and then piggybacking on it to try and get your business into the story.
So Ryan Reynolds was the example that Eric Hunley was pointing out in the chat about him getting that Aviator gin ad with the Peloton girl.
There you go.
And the story, I don't know, did you either of you see him talk about this? Like it happened within a matter of like days.
No, I haven't.
They were he saw the ad and was like, I need to do this. So it was really hard to get a hold of the girl too, because apparently, I guess Peloton did a really good job of trying to like suppress the ability to find her. And how whatever they did, I don't know, but apparently it was really hard to find. And they put the ad together and made it work. I think what was it? What was the other example I was going to give? Another great example of something like that just came out with this Super Bowl was the Bill Murray Groundhog Day commercial coming together like, not even like a week before the Super Bowl. Like it wasn't going to happen. And then the letter that was written back in like October got read by Bill Murray. And Bill Murray's like, okay, if I'm going to do an ad, I'll do this because this makes sense. And they didn't even know what they were going to do. Like they just showed up for like 2 days to shoot and figured it out and just made it happen.
Wow.
Yeah. It happens. It happens all the time.
I'm sure he got like a boatload of money to do it. So it's not free PR, but it's just, things like that when it comes together, when it feels right and it can go, you can make it happen. I think another example that was the way Tide did their commercials this year, where they like ran multiple commercials and then like literally after the Super Bowl, they did another commercial where like he was on. It was the show after was The Masked Singer or whatever, and they did it where he was like on the Masked Singer stage, like as if it was still part of the show, but it was part of the Tide commercial that took place starting back at the beginning of the Super Bowl. Like it was hilarious. Like how they thought that far ahead to make that happen. But yeah, it's a different topic. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but very, very impressive. Like, it's amazing what you could do when you have a bottomless wallet, but there's also amazing what you can do when you do have a bottom on your wallet, which was
that was a fabulous save, Jen. I'm very impressed.
Like most of us have a bottom on our wallet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the other thing I think it's worth talking about a little bit is PR is a pretty large umbrella, right? So I think we've talked about podcasts. We've talked about, being featured like commercials and maybe newspaper articles. But I think of PR as a lot of things. Like I think of PR, like what if I go and I speak in front of like a networking group or something, I'm thinking that's PR to me. Like I'm getting in front of a public audience. I'm getting in front of an audience, and it might not be a very big audience, but I think the ROI on that is super high. Like I rarely walk out of a speaking gig without discovery calls scheduled and getting a client out of it. I mean, it's really effective. You're not reaching as many people as once, but it's definitely a more personal connection. You don't have the distance of a newspaper article. You're able to shake hands with those PR connections. So I don't know, do you guys have a more narrow view of PR, or do you agree that it's kind of...
I was going to mention speaking too. I think it's where you can really get your message to more people. But what I want to do is go back and highlight something you said, Jen, because people may have missed some of the gold that you just delivered there.
I had gold?
You have gold.
Oh my gosh, I need to write this down on my calendar. I need to write it in my Rocket book. Where is my Rocket book? Hold on, I need to write the date down and the time. This is serious stuff, people.
Like, Thor, check this out. Like,
no. It could be years before this happens again. Years.
So let me just, before I even say what you said,
okay.
I remember having someone reach out to me. Now, this was not a paid client. It was just someone that reached out to me. And she said, I've had this amazing opportunity to come onto a morning show that's got 20 million viewers. And I went, okay, cool. So what's the strategy? I'm just going to go on there and tell everyone about what I do, and my phone's going to ring off the hook. And I went, I think you need a little bit more of a strategy. Let's talk this through, blah, blah, blah. Or, if you don't have something in place, like I'm always get something in place fast. You can make something happen. But if you can't make something happen, maybe don't use this one opportunity now. Maybe like save this opportunity. Anyway, she went on. She rang me a couple of weeks later and said, Sam, I did not get one phone call. Not one out of 20 million viewers.
Ouch.
So the gold that Jen just said there that I want everyone to really pay attention to is we have to tell people what the next step is to stay connected with us. And this is the piece that most people miss. How are we turning this amazing opportunity into paying clients? What's that strategy look like? So there's your goal, Jen.
Did I even say that? I think
you did. You did.
Why don't I remember it? I don't remember saying that.
Well, you're tired. Clearly,
I am tired.
Later than we normally be.
Poor me. I love that. That's so important. I mean, you have to lead a horse to water, or it's not going to drink.
Yeah. So if you're doing a speaking gig, you would ask people to stay connected with you. If we were doing a podcast, it could relate to having a lead magnet or some sort of free resource that relates to what you're talking about, inviting people to subscribe to your email list. What are some of the other ways that Joe, what are some of the other ways that you could help people take the next step?
I mean, people could join your text message, basically the same as the email. You can invite people to have a conversation with you. I've seen people just give out their phone number, call me. But some people are that's off-putting and to some people, not everybody, but maybe only like the type A's will be like, yes, I need to pick up I'm going to call Joe Pardo right now and find out what he's all about. And maybe like 0.1% of people that are watching of 20 million, are that of that type.
Exactly.
But yeah, I would say something that gets you the opportunity to put your name in front of them again. Because it takes 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 times for somebody to hear the same message over and over before they like really get it. And also I would look at figuring out like how you can boil it down to as little words as possible, especially if you're going on a news station, right? Like a morning show, like you have like 3 minutes. Like if you're a celebrity, you get like 7, on Jimmy Fallon or whatever. But like you're getting like 3 minutes, and that might be actually a lot. Like it might be like more like 2, 3 if you're really lucky. But yeah, you really got to have like how people can connect with you. We'll take that next step, and maybe even consider being a little polarizing, because it'll move the needle for people, right? Some people will be off put by it. Fine, they probably weren't going to want to like you anyway. But other people that will feel something, and you want them to feel anything, because if they don't feel anything, then there's no instance to like you or dislike you or want to hear you again. Even if they dislike you, they might love to hate you, and that's okay too in the media world. But yeah, if you make them feel something, then they're more interested to want to take that next step and leave them wanting more, right? And that's something like I've had to learn with speaking, is like, don't give all the details. Like I'm a very detailed, like here's the blah, 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 and explaining like every step of the thing. Cause like, I don't want someone to sit there and be like, oh, he's full SHIT, right? Like, no, I want you to understand. But at the same time, like I've had to learn, okay, Joe, cool it. You can't give every piece of data. Intentionally leave room for questions. So they want to talk to you afterwards, so that they want to get more information about you. And, just let them come to you, right? Rather than just putting it all out there and being like, oh, it's all here. Can't question this. This is solid data.
Yeah.
I like it.
Love it. So that's, how to get the PR, but there's also another piece that comes with what do we do with the PR once that speaking gig has happened or that podcast interview? Because again, this is another mistake I see, that people get these amazing opportunities and then it's like done and walk away. And it's not the way there's so much that we can do with it.
Even with that, like, we're the most watched blah 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 channel or most watched blah 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 show in the such and such area. Like, cool, but how many of those most watched people are not paying attention at the time, right? So you need to be like, hey, I was also on this channel and this channel and this show and this radio station and this podcast and blah blah blah, and use that as more social proof than like, oh, cool, like 20 million people might have been watching, but like how many were actively watching, right? How many dentists, it's like, oh, The View, right? On ABC, like gets so many views, but like how many TVs are watching it that are just like in a doctor's office that nobody's actually watching?
Exactly.
Or the sound's off. It's just like playing like without any sound or,
True.
Things like that.
Well, I think, when you have a PR opportunity, you have to be a good steward of that opportunity, both for yourself and for the outlet that's giving you that opportunity. So you want to hopefully someday maybe be invited back or be recommended to something else. So you definitely need to pre-promote your appearances and promote your appearances, and then post promote, and then come back every so many weeks and promote it again and tag the people that have featured you. I mean, anything you can to draw attention to your appearance, both for yourself and for the media outlet that has featured you. I mean, it's only going to make you a pro player. I mean, they're going to love you. Like, how many people, like you said, Sam, don't take that extra step? You're just like, oh, we just interviewed her. Great interview, but she's a dead fish. Like she's done nothing with it, loser.
Which none of us would ever say.
No, this is what's being said behind closed doors.
Or thinking in the mind.
Exactly.
Inside voice.
There's another opportunity there, and I use this again all the time. I had a reporter reach out to me a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday night, And I could have thought, oh, I'm not going to, answer that till Monday morning. So a lot of times, you've got to keep that personal boundary. But I thought, I've never dealt with this reporter. It was someone else that had introduced me to him. So I got straight back to him because obviously he was on a deadline. I went, yep, I've totally got your back. I'm available at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning to jump on a call. Anyway, we did what needed to be done the next morning. But then what I said to him at the end is this something, is this a problem you have often, having last minute reports that you need to get out or last minute pieces that you need to get out? Do you prefer to have your people on speed dial so that you can just reach out? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, cool. What are the sort of people? And he said, I'm looking for, business people and blah, 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 other people. So what I did is said, definitely keep me on speed dial. Always happy to help you out. And these are the other people that I can recommend in those other areas. So by me helping him out, he knew that he could trust me. He could come back to me, which he has done a couple of times just this week alone. And he also reached out to other people that I introduced him to. So whatever the problem is, he knows that he can reach out to me. So always use those opportunities as well to help and serve and give value to the people that are, I guess, in turn helping you.
Yes. And so we have a question from Eric Hunley who says, when does asking become over asking? Should you have only one call to action? And should there be more? And that's really 3 questions, not 1.
Well,
but we love Eric. So
Eric's got the best questions, and I'm going to answer because if there's more than one call to action, I'm confused. You'll lose me. I don't know what to do. It just becomes noise. But that's me personally. Maybe the general public can handle 2 or 3 calls to action, like a boss. But me, no. Don't confuse me. I've got too much going on in my head. There's too much coming at me at once. One call to action, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you guys say?
Okay, so I think one definite call to action, like this is what I want you to do, book a call. However, I think you can give soft call to actions in different ways, like bringing in and seeding, hey, on my podcast, they talked about such and such. It's still a call to action. I've got a podcast. I'd like you to subscribe. This is a subscriber that asked me this question, but I'm not confusing you, Jen. I'm not confusing me because I get that. I'm D-type personality. I've got the brain of a gnat. So I get what you're saying. So I think that one definite ask, but you can still seed.
Yeah, I mean, because you're not asking them to pull out your phone and do that right now. Subscribe to my podcast. You've never heard me speak before, but pull out your phone right now. Subscribe to my podcast.
Yeah.
And then at the end, give me your phone number by texting blah 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 to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I would agree. One real call to action, but definitely weaving in what you want people to know that there's that also exists, because you're not asking them to subscribe, but because only a certain percentage of the room is going to listen to podcasts anyway, right? Or listen to, or go to read blog posts, or you subscribe to email list. Even some of them we're going to want to do it in a different way. So I would say, call to action one major, like you said, Sam, for sure.
All right. There's no question that's too tough.
No, not for us, not for the geeks.
We've got them all covered here on the Business Geeks podcast.
So there's one more thing that I want to say with PR before we move on, is that to use it to your advantage by sharing it with your network. So your audience already loves you. Someone else's audience may not yet. So it's great that you get the opportunity to go into that audience, but your audience that already loves you, they want to see the opportunities too. So many people, and I'm not just talking about podcasts, any opportunity where speaking, podcasts, main media, they think that they just do the thing and walk away, where a lot comes afterwards. We did speak about that earlier, but email your list and say, hey, look, I was just on this podcast. We were talking about this. You might like to have a listen. I think that don't think of any PR opportunity being in a silo. It's not. Share it as far and wide as you can, because you're trying to increase your network, and you never know if someone else shares to someone else that shares with a corporate, and you end up with a huge speaking gig. You just don't know how it's going to happen.
You just don't know. And I'd like to leave, before we leave this topic, I'd like to leave one guerrilla PR tip. You guys ready? I mean, I've done this, and I think it's a good one, and it's nothing we've touched on. All right, in your neighborhood, within like I'd say 5 to 10 mile radius, go to all the Verizon Wireless, all the cell phone stores, and they all have their phones out, and they're all on internet, they're all on Wi-Fi, and put your website or your podcast or the book that you're selling, put it all on every single phone. I have done this. Do it. They don't care. I mean, you could just do it. It doesn't cost anything but a little bit of time.
But people were doing that to donate to like was it American Red Cross and stuff during like one of the disasters, that people were walking into like the cell phone stores and like just texting the blah 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 for to donate money.
That's sweet. Okay, it's sweeter than what I said, but I'm not trying to save the world here. I'm just trying to stay in business.
Just trying to keep that money in the wallet that's got the bottom.
That's right. I'm just trying to keep the bottom of my wallet from
darn bottoms.
The bottom of my wallet down there.
That's fantastic.
We've got something. Mary Sue, who's asking. Mary Sue is a friend and client of mine. I adore her. She says, sometimes I feel like I am promoting so many things that I may come across as salesy. My upcoming events, attending great conferences, or a friend's event. What is too much? That's a great.
My God.
Yeah.
I love this question so much. Can I take it?
Yes.
Can I take it?
Go ahead.
All yours.
If people don't want to pay attention, they just won't. The end. Promote, promote, promote.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback on that, not to hijack it or newsjack it, but you're seeing all your posts because you're posting them. But these are scrolling feeds, and you could post 20 times a day, and I could follow you on every single platform, and I'm not going to see all 20 of your posts. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to just cover ground. I mean, and like Sam said, like, if somebody's annoyed, they can unfollow you. I mean, that's the worst thing that's going to happen. I don't know. I'm annoying like every 5 minutes. It's just like.
No, see, I love seeing you. I love seeing your posts. The thing is, if people don't see you, they're not thinking, oh my God, I haven't seen a post for a while from Jen. They're just forgetting that you exist. It's that simple.
Yeah, you become irrelevant.
That's depressing.
Sorry, I was being a Debbie Downer.
I haven't posted on Instagram. I'm fading away.
Mary Sue, if you stop posting, what am I going to like? What am I going to like? Because I like all of her posts because they're very good posts. Mary Sue puts quality content out there. She's one of the good eggs online. I just keep posting. Honestly, just keep posting.
Definitely.
It's important.
I mean, the people that don't like what you're posting will unfollow you. But I feel I sympathize with that, right? As a person who runs, a consulting business, a person who runs their own podcasting conference, who's producing a TV show and now has 3 podcasts. Like I totally get it, and they're not all super related to each other, and it makes life really hard sometimes to be like, you must have a really good to just have one thing that you're promoting and like and knock it out of the park with, and that's it, right? But
not everyone's Oprah.
Well, right, but the thing is like everybody wants to be Oprah because Oprah did a really great job at one thing, right? And that's the thing to remember is like. And I had to keep reminding myself, like, if I, it's like, rest in peace, Kobe, right? Like everybody wanted to be Kobe, not because Kobe could play the piano because he taught himself to play the piano and, make an Emmy award-winning movie and all that stuff. It's because he played basketball. And he played it really, really well to the point where other people wanted to be a part of the fact that he played really, really well. So keeping that in perspective of like, if you have that one thing, people will want to be around you and know more about what you're doing because of the fact that you have that one big thing. So that's just keep that in mind all the time. Now, another thing, as I say, Killa.
Yeah, Killa.
Excuse me. I used to have an as seen on page on my website. Is that a good idea or too much? I'll start. Yes, I have one, and it's now like I don't know. I'm probably getting close to 200 links where I've been featured I wish I could do. I wish I did more with it as far as like making it like a fancier looking page and like a page with like a couple pictures and mostly just like a list of links. But one thing I did do though is I put on my featured stuff. So anything that's in the banner that's like, hey, featured on Huffington Post and entrepreneur.com and blah, 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 like things that people actually recognize, those are separate at the top as in its own featured short list. So
I
that like the ones that matter can be found.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, Joe, because consumers trust editorial content more than ads. I mean, that's just the way it is. And it, helps build, instant credibility if people see that, oh, you've been featured on these well-known media outlets. Well, then, you're instantly trustworthy on a certain level, right? So Akila, yeah, I would totally go for that.
100%. It also gives people that maybe giving you an opportunity that, that want to feature you on whatever it is that they're doing, on their podcast or on their stage. Those people want to see that you've successfully been featured on other people's, stages, podcasts, media outlets before. So I think it's a really good idea.
Oh,
great question.
Yes, that was a great question. That was a great question.
Not
apparently,
bad.
of course,
40 minutes in and we get the weird silence. We've done well, team.
You're nailing it. Eric Hunley says Joe interrupts this podcast to make a post. And he also says it is kind to the people who featured you as well because they get the link back. Hey, with that
100%.
said, I say 100% too. But I got an email recently from somebody who asked me to use a no follow or just completely remove their link from my site, even though they were like, we want to keep we're going to feature, we're featuring you in the article still. It's not a problem. No big deal. Just, we want you either like remove it or put a no follow tag in the HTML code. And I could not for the life of me understand. In fact, I reached out to my friend Jessica Foster, who is an SEO expert and is a hilarious millennial. She's awesome. Anyway, I was like, do you understand why this would be? And she couldn't understand it either. So she's like, if I was her, she was like, if I was you, I would just ignore it and just say, bug off. But I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just put it in the no follow tag. 'Cause I don't want to get rid of the link to the article. Like, it's still a thing that, I was featured with a whole bunch of other awesome entrepreneurs. So I don't want to get rid of that, but I don't know. Their view of it was that it was bad for SEO. And my link authority isn't bad or anything. Like, I went through, like, she sent me a couple things to check and I'm like, yeah, no, it seems fine to me. And she's like, yeah, it seems fine to me too. So I don't know.
I would definitely take it out if someone asked, but I would go with exactly what Eric's saying. I would always promote other people's.
Yep. Every time on the website. Usually try to do blog posts, but it does get to a point where like it just becomes it's like another thing to have to do to put the post together and all that. But I try to do it whenever I can. Keila says thanks for the responses. This is helpful. Glad to help.
The question.
Before we move on though, I just want to throw it out there that if you have a business related question, you can send it to questions@businessgeekspodcast.com.
Do we have that email? I didn't
we
know.
do.
That's
Because
fancy.
I literally just made it. So
That's very fancy. I'm impressed.
I don't know. I hope the expectation is not.
See, look, I literally just made this.
That's very geeky. I like it.
Very geeky.
You can stay, Joe.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'd like to think I have, some of those things. Akila says, yeah, I do SEO too, and I've never turned down a non-spammy link. Yeah, I'm not sure. So to move on, and unless we get any more questions related to that, we wanted to. I wanted to talk about related to PR and a local restaurant that was decided to go on Gordon Ramsay's 24 Hours to Hell and Back restaurant rescue show, which I had never watched before, but it was cool. Like, I remember people posting in our local Facebook groups for like our towns, talking about like, hey, they were at this they were at our local restaurant, blah blah blah, and then the backlash that has come from that, the amount of people, like one person's like, oh, I went to that restaurant and it was awesome. The restaurant was Botto's. I mean, if you type, if you want to go watch the episode, so it just recently aired. But like, oh, I went to it was another great restaurant, experience. And then like literally 100 comments like within an hour, just people like saying, trashing it, people saying it's great, I'll keep going, it was never bad. And after watching the episode, I kind of felt this, like they kind of reached a little bit. Like I've eaten there before. One of my best friends got married there. It was never like on the top of my list, but it wasn't a bad experience. And I felt like when I was watching the episode, that they were reaching for some of the things like the food quality and things like that. It's like, you got to have something bad, right? You got to have that negative. But I guess it's one of the sons of the four brothers that owns the restaurant / sausage factory / marketplace that they have. Was like, well, we did it because like we got a $40,000 renovation out of it. And NPR, right? And I guess that's the point that I was trying to bring it to, was like, is there such a bad thing as bad PR? What are your takes on it?
I think there is bad PR. there are businesses that have been through PR crises. I'm thinking of what's the airplane that kept crashing that they had to
the Max 8, Boeing 7 something, Max 8.
That is a perfect example. That is definitely bad PR.
Still haunting them.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely bad PR in the example that you gave, Joe. I think that's maybe a little more of a gray area. I guess time will tell.
Right. Yeah. Because they were saying like, oh, well, it's $800,000 in debt, but they didn't give any like context to that, right? Because they just put up like a brand new sausage factory. Like it's like I could throw a football and hit it from my house. But they spent all that money there. Like they didn't give any like, okay, so here's like the breakdown and where the restaurant fits into that and how much money it's losing. Or like, are they not booking enough weddings? Because they have a whole room dedicated just to weddings there.
I don't know.
Right? So like that's like, I have lots of questions too, but they didn't go into any of that.
Too many questions.
Right.
But I don't think that's bad PR. Because here we are talking about it. It's not saying there was roaches walking on people's food.
No,
that probably would have been bad PR. Do you know what I mean? But I think that in that situation, people are talking about it. They've had massive exposure. I don't see that as being a bad PR event.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be improvement. So, I mean, to me, it's like, look, you go on a reality show. We all know that reality is not really reality. It's all, and it's funny too because I think that they filmed some of it at like the school, like the high school I went to, like down this, like way down the street from there. But they made it kind of like as if it was in the parking lot of the restaurant. But it's just those, it's just like little things like that. But
I can tell this has bothered you, Joe. I feel like this episode is stuck with you and is causing you some distress.
No, I find it fascinating to see, so like Lou, what's up, Lou?
Yeah, Lou, good point, Lou.
Yeah, bad restaurants.
Very good point.
Okay, bad planes not okay, right? Yeah, because they crash, people die, like it ruins lives, especially the way that the Boeing handled not only the crashes after the fact, but like why the planes were crashing was like totally their fault. Like if you don't know anything about it, look it up. It was totally their fault. They didn't train people on like their safety measures. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I'll probably go there at some point.
Well, please
tell
us when you do.
Now I feel like I should, right?
Answered the question.
There you go.
Was that bad PR good or bad? Well, it's good because you're going to go there.
Right. I know that. I was just asking for the general listening audience, our fellow geeks listening.
Excellent.
So what was it? The other thing we have what's grinding our gears this week?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I didn't even think about this.
What, Sam? I was depending on you. I've got one.
Go for it, Jen.
I've got one. Okay. This is maybe going to make me sound like a big jerk. And you know what? Sometimes I am a big jerk. So I'm owning it. Okay, so I've had several experiences over the past year or so where I've gone to networking events where there's been a speaker, or I've gone to like a conference where there's been speakers. These are typically, these have been women speakers, and there's been a women audience, women business owners. And I have been told too many times by complete strangers that I am worthy, that I deserve to be in the room, and that I am loved. And I know, Joe, I can see your face, Joe. You think this is nice, right? These are nice comments. No, this is not nice. This is not nice. I hate it. So first of all, do not assume that because I'm a woman that I don't feel loved, that I don't feel worthy, and I don't feel like I deserve to be in the room. I am totally, of course I'm loved. Look at me. I'm adorable. Of course, I mean, of course I deserve to be in the room, or I wouldn't be there. Like, I'm there in the room. I don't feel like I'm unworthy. Why? Just because I'm a woman, do other women assume that I have a self-esteem problem? I don't think that should be the assumption. And it's all cloaked as business advice. That's not business advice. No, business advice is not telling me that I'm worthy. Business advice is telling me how to conquer SEO, or how to like run a Facebook ad, or I don't know, PR tips. I mean, it's like inspiration and motivation is not a business. That's not business. So save it for therapy. Save it for your support groups, but do not put it in my business conference. Do not put it in my business networking group. Can you tell that I'm getting all worked up?
Oh, Jen, I love it.
My gears are grinding. I'm in fourth gear grinding.
But there's no gears left. They're ground out.
That's right. No gears. No gears left.
That is brilliant.
I'm sweating. I'm so upset.
Take a deep breath, and I totally agree with you. It's not empowering, is it?
No,
I like it. Thanks for bringing it up.
Joe, Mr. Nice Guy, thinks I'm being a big jerk. I know he thinks that.
I think it's. I think you're passionate about it is awesome.
No, do not condescend to me, Joe.
No, I do. I love it.
No, I don't do that.
My goodness, you two. Look what I got last week.
Oh, yeah,
can you see what it is?
It's a rocket book.
It arrived yesterday.
Oh, you got the big one.
It's Sam for the save. Thank you, Sam.
Oh my goodness. Because of the one thing last week.
I wonder how many rocket books I sold. You know what? That was bad planning. I should have become an affiliate before I did.
You should have had an affiliate link in there.
That was
an Amazon affiliate link, but I can't be associated with it because they don't like
not only did I get the rocket book, but I got the highlighters and I got the colored pens.
You're welcome, Rocket Book. No affiliate link. My business prowess is completely in question now.
You need to go in and edit last week's episode and put the affiliate link in so that other people can get their rocket books on your
I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of an affiliate link.
We'll get Babe on that. All right.
Oh my goodness. Stop it. It is brilliant. I love it. This is the best thing ever.
I'm so glad. Yeah, Mary Sue is excited. She's coming. Woot woot, because Mary Sue gave me my first rocket book as a birthday gift. And now I am like telling the world as well because I love it so much.
Yes, Mary Sue.
Eric,
it is the fusion.
Look at Eric jumping in. It's not condescending, it's patronizing. Well, that comment is also patronizing.
Eric, I'm not going back there.
It probably.
Okay, so okay, wait, hold on. So Joe was patronizing, but Eric was condescending. Am I right?
I don't know. No, absolutely not.
And Mary Sue is sharing her affiliate link.
Mary Sue just jumping in there. Mary Sue's a business geek sharing her affiliate link in the chat.
Oh my God.
Oh,
are you guys going to fire me and like make Mary Sue the co-host because she's got affiliate link ready to go? I mean,
we'll work on that.
Oh my goodness.
It's only week 2.
I'm hanging up my entrepreneurial hat. I'm not worthy.
You so are not.
I'm checking out. This is it.
Oh no. So what
Okay,
one
so can I
thing have you
defend
got-
myself?
Oh my god, we're going
do you
back
need
there.
defending? Do you need defending?
I do. Eric is a smart a
I
smart
feel like I
butt.
need to go have lunch and come back and meet you guys in 10 minutes time.
I'm supposed
Okay,
to be in
so-
bed.
All right, so
Okay, you can attempt to defend yourself. Joe.
all right. No, I'm not laughing I'm not laughing at what you're saying. I'm laughing at the passion because I love I'm just happy that you were so enthralled about it.
Do I amuse you?
Yes, you do.
I amuse you?
Yes.
That's a
That's my
Goodfellas
favorite.
quote. I don't know if you caught that. Okay.
Yes, like a clown. Yes. Yes. No, well, you're right. Not you don't need to hear that. And maybe most of the people don't need to hear that. But there are people in that room that probably do need to hear that.
No, I think there are people in that room that think they need to hear that.
Oh, good pickup, and I agree.
Because they're told they need to hear that. They're drinking the Kool-Aid that us women are weak. We need to be told we're worthy. We need to be built up. Our esteem must be boistered at all times. This is not the Kool-Aid I'm drinking, and it's not the Kool-Aid that any woman should be drinking. We're fine. We're good. Got
Okay,
it.
so you were specifically talking only about like speaking to women, not like to just the room in general, or is the room in general just literally filled with women? So
yeah, in this circumstance,
there's no
it's
generalization of people in the room. It's just
it's
women.
been people who identify as women, as far as I know, in that room.
Okay.
So yeah, women networking events, women conferences, summits, that sort of thing. You know what? That's the whole thing about grinding your gears. Just because it grinds my gears doesn't mean it has to grind everybody else's gears.
No, absolutely. Well, you know, so here's the thing. What if somebody walked out and said, "You know what you don't need to hear right now? That somebody loves you. F your feelings. Go get an affiliate link."
What, were you standing behind me? What? That's what I said. I'm just kidding. I mean, what do you mean? What if somebody? I mean, I'm sure that was the conversation in my head. I know you think I'm being harsh, Joe.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I really
honest.
don't.
Just be
I know.
honest.
I don't. Because you're allowed to have your own feelings about it. That's fine.
But those feelings you feel are harsh.
No. Well, I think if you stood up in the middle and said like, "Screw you, I don't need you to tell me what to think or feel," then yeah, that would be.
Well, that's a little.
That'd be harsh, right?
That's harsh.
But I I get it because it when you do start to hear something so often, it becomes too much to hear it, right? It becomes too played out or too something to that effect. And so no, I don't disagree with you. And I also question, as a skeptic myself and as a bit of a cynic, even though I'm a positive cynic, a bit of a cynic. I question the authenticity of the people saying that as well, like all of the time. Which I hate because I don't want to, but I can't help it. Like
no,
it just,
of course,
it's just part of
born skeptic.
Well,
and when somebody tells me I'm loved, somebody who's never met me, I was like, well, I haven't earned that. Like, how do you know I'm loved or that they love me? Like, you don't love me. You don't know me. What if I'm a serial killer? Like, what if I stepped on a puppy in the parking lot? Like, you don't know me. You don't know what I'm capable of.
You might not have seen the puppy, but if you kicked the puppy.
I would never do that. I love puppies. I love dogs. I've rescued them, lots of them. But yes, that goes to the authenticity. Okay, enough of my gears.
Okay.
What's grinding your gears today, Jim?
I'll keep it brief. People not filling out their TPS reports.
Jerks.
What even is that?
What? Oh, from Office Space? No. All right. Anyway, people not filling out the paperwork they're supposed to fill out, when they're supposed to fill it out, and how they're supposed to do it, even though it's part of what they do as part of their job on a regular, multiple time a day basis.
Is it digitalized paperwork?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay then.
Oh, it's not okay.
I love that question though. I'm like, does that really make a difference?
Well, it's just easier,
well, no, the pen is easy, but even if it's a pen, like, okay, you fill out a pen and then you take the tablet and you take a picture of it. So like, if anybody that works for me at this point still is listening at 10 o'clock at night, I don't hate you, but take the extra steps.
Paperwork.
and fill out your paperwork.
Joe, what are the consequences?
What are
For not
what are the
filling out
consequences?
your-
Here's the consequences. We can't submit the work to the customer, so they don't want to pay. So then we can't pay our employees. It's a pretty short like chain reaction, because like there's a very short period of time between like when they're supposed to fill out the paperwork and when the bill gets submitted and when the bill's supposed to get paid or decided if it's going to be paid. So like, you know, it's not like, you didn't fill out the paperwork and maybe it'll matter like a month or 6 months from now or a year from now. No, it's like it'll matter in like 2 weeks when we're not getting paid to pay you, kind of thing.
That sounds
Pretty
like
big thing.
you need to go in and fire some people tomorrow. Joe.
Oh no, no, I don't need to be firing anybody. But no, you know what? No, what we need to do is we need to sit down and we need to have a discussion. Like, look, what are the issues that you're having? Work one-on-one with them, and I have, like, it's not that we haven't, but it just, you know, and it's like, how many times could there be an issue with the computer every time when like literally like 4, 5, 6, 10 times a day you're doing the same paperwork or you're doing the same thing over and over and over again.
I'm
it's
sorry.
very frustrating.
I'm sorry, Joe. That sounds awful.
Yeah, I know. Don't patronize me.
I was going to say, is that condescending or patronizing?
I'm just trying to hold back my tears.
Oh, I was holding my
I'm
tears
getting
and
upset for you.
I was laughing.
Oh my
so
goodness, you two are on fire tonight.
Well, Sam, we were just giving you time to remember what
I
you're.
know, and you know what? I'm not even going with the grinding my gears today because I've had a fabulous week, and I just want to skip grinding my gears today.
It is only Tuesday. Well, it's Wednesday for you, but
Sam,
it's only
I
Tuesday.
have so many issues. I have, you know, we have a spreadsheet for the show where we like,
You've already filled in next
I've
week.
already filled in next week's grinding my gears. I've already got one for next
Oh
week.
my goodness.
I'm ahead of the
I
game.
was like, what's my one thing this week?
Oh, got me. Okay, is that we're doing? Okay, one cool thing, folks. Let's share with these
Eric
beautiful
Hunley chimed in here. Actually, I think you're dead on, Jennifer. You shouldn't be starting from a perceived deficit or anything. You should be able to go in unassuming. There should be a baseline.
Thanks, Eric.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
nobody else has agreed with me, but if Eric's very.
Wait, you mean like no one's agreed with you that you've told outside of the three of us and the people listening now?
I was just looking at the live comments. I was expecting more support, honestly. Okay. It's okay.
Oh my goodness.
It's all right.
All right, Sam, what's your one thing this week? One cool thing this week?
So I've read a really, really good book this week called Do It Speaking. It's like do it with an exclamation mark.
Ooh.
Speaking by David Newman. It's a really, really good book. It's got some basic principles that are really good to go back and just touch on again. But when you buy it on his website, and P.S., I've never met David Newman. I've got no affiliation with him whatsoever. But when you go on his website, you get a ton of free resources, which are really awesome as well. So totally get on that.
All right. I love it. I'm going to check that out. I've also got a book that I've just started called Good Profit by Charles Koch of the Koch Industries. He's a capitalist, giant. And I actually heard his interview with Tim Ferriss, which was, I don't know, maybe a few months ago, and it was one of the best interviews I've ever heard. It was so fascinating. This is a man with so much depth. Like, he's really thought about his philosophy within his business, and he applies it so steadfastly into every asset of his corporate empire. And so actually, it turns out like the first maybe 20% of the book is pretty much, like, from what I can tell, what he kind of covered on the podcast. So I'm starting to get into more of the heavy lifting stuff. He's a very well-read, educated man. So the book is a little dense in terms of content. Like, it's not a quick read, but in terms of, building a humongous business with, on the backbone of some ethics, it's pretty impressive. So Good Profit.
Awesome.
Good Profit.
Nice.
I like it.
My one cool thing is I haven't read it yet. Which if anybody knows me, I'm very slow to read books. In general, I got an advanced copy of Humankind, How to Change the World One Small Act at a Time by Brad Aronson, who is a friend of mine, who is a VC angel. Yeah, he's really cool, and his book comes out in April. I think it's like April 15th or something like that, and it's available on Amazon. So you should go check it out. He's got a bunch of blog posts and stuff.
Well, aren't we?
Definitely sounds like my kind of book.
We are such geeks with all of our reading,
aren't we? Just funny about that. We should have a podcast called Business Geeks.
That's a great idea.
How about that?
Brilliant.
That's the only good idea I've come up with in a whole hour.
Oh my gosh.
What an episode, guys.
This was fun. Do you think this episode or this podcast is PR? I mean, it is, right? We're kind of using it as a PR
totally
juggernaut for our businesses, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Slick.
Yes. No, well, I mean, that was one of the key pillars of the idea of having it, right? Was to promote the three businesses that we each have.
Which we have not mentioned at all during this podcast, which is fine.
No.
We're
not
jamming them down your throat.
No. But we each have real quick. Why don't we just finish it up with that, just to remind everyone? No, okay. Well, you're the one that was complaining about not having an affiliate link and how you should hang it up. So
I'm just gonna full fail this episode.
We're just not gonna. So you know what the call to action this week is? Mail us your business questions at questions@businessgeekspodcast.com, and we will answer them next week at the same time. Well, almost the same time, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
which is Wednesday at 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time.
Eastern Daylight Time. Okay, cool.
Future Sam.
Daylight Time.
In my head, I call you Future Sam.
The world is still intact in the future, right? We haven't.
We haven't blown up in the future. No.
Good to know.
So it means we'll be back for another week next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, until then, I hope you all have a magical week ahead with your business and with your life and everything in between. Take care.
See ya.
Ciao.